Devin Haney walked into the ring at Times Square under the bright lights of the Fatal Fury City of Wolves card with a lot riding on his shoulders. After suffering a humbling loss to Ryan Garcia, Haney wasn't just fighting Jorge Ramirez. He was fighting to reclaim his place in boxing's elite. A win was essential, not just for pride, but for business. The blueprint was simple: beat Ramirez and line up the rematch with Garcia in the fall. But while Haney did manage to secure a wide, unanimous decision, the buzz in the crowd and online wasn't exciting. It was disappointment. The fight lacked energy, urgency, and frankly, entertainment. Haney may have gotten his hand raised, but he didn't win over many hearts in the process. From the opening bell, Haney's game plan was crystal clear: stay on the move, stay safe, and don't give Ramirez any room to get comfortable. He stuck and moved, tied up whenever Ramirez got close, and rarely planted his feet to throw combinations. The result was a fight that lacked rhythm, drama, and any sort of real back-and-forth exchange. Haney's strategy neutralized Ramirez's offense, but also turned the bout into a slow-paced chess match that fans weren't exactly eager to watch. There were moments where entire minutes passed before either fighter landed a clean shot. Ramirez, who's typically most effective when he can trap his opponents and work inside, looked confused and frustrated. Haney never gave him that chance. Statistically, the numbers told the story loud and clear. Across 12 rounds, the pair combined to land just 110 punches, one of the lowest totals for a championship fight in recent memory. Ramirez landed only 40 punches all night, while Haney connected on 70, most of them jabs or glancing shots. For fans watching at home and in the stands, it was a test of patience. Social media lit up with criticism, with many calling it one of the dullest fights of the year. While Haney's technical ability was never in question, the absence of any significant offensive bursts left spectators wondering if the version of Devin that once took bold risks was gone for good. To be fair, Haney did what he needed to do from a strategic standpoint. He boxed smart, avoided unnecessary damage, and came out with a clear win. But boxing isn't just about who wins. It's about how you. Haney's conservative approach might work against a slower, one-dimensional fighter like Ramirez, but fans were expecting more fire from a man looking to bounce back from a career-altering loss, especially when that loss to Ryan Garcia came with multiple knockdowns and widespread scrutiny. Saturday night was Haney's opportunity to erase those memories. Instead, he gave fans 12 rounds that left more questions than answers. Before the fight, Haney made it clear he'd been in the lab, working hard to fix the issues exposed in the Garcia fight. He talked about mental toughness, sharper timing, and regaining that hunger. He wanted to show that his last performance was just a bad night, not a sign of decline. But if Saturday's showing was the improved Devin Haney, then a lot of people are starting to worry. Where was the fire, the urgency, the willingness to take calculated risks? Haney never looked in trouble, but he never looked threatening either. And in a sport where drama and violence are part of the appeal, looking safe isn't necessarily a compliment. The lack of action in the ring also raised bigger questions about Haney's readiness for a rematch with Ryan Garcia. Garcia is an explosive fighter with real knockout power and a flair for the dramatic. Everything this Haney-Ramirez fight wasn't. If Devin couldn't let his hands go against Ramirez, what's going to change against Garcia, who already dropped it 3 times in their first meeting? Garcia might be flawed, but he forces fighters to react. Haney's reluctance to engage makes you wonder whether he's mentally over that last beating. At times on Saturday night, he looked more focused on avoiding danger than winning decisively. It's hard to ignore the psychological aspect of this. When a fighter takes the kind of damage Haney did against Garcia, it changes things. It alters confidence, affects reflexes, and sometimes creates hesitancy that wasn't there before. Against Ramirez, Haney looked like a man who didn't fully trust himself to go into battle. He stuck to what was safe, and while that might win rounds, it doesn't win back a skeptical audience. The version of Haney who used to mix slick defense with sharp offense has been replaced, at least for now, by someone far more cautious. The boxing world is watching and wondering if that change is permanent. Another angle that can't be ignored is the role of expectations. Haney isn't just any contender. He's been a champion, a headliner, a fighter with big money potential. When you carry that kind of label, the expectations are higher. Fans don't just want you to win, they want you to entertain, to dominate, to make a statement. A win over Ramirez on paper is solid, but when you look at the context, Ramirez coming off inactivity, not looking sharp, it loses its shine. If Haney had knocked Ramirez out or even just put on a clinic, the rematch with Garcia would be buzzing right now. Instead, we're left wondering if it's even worth watching. Haney's promoter and supporters are likely spinning this as a strategic win, a necessary step on the road. And sure, boxing is a business. Wins lead to bigger fights. But there's a reason why the crowd was restless and fans were vocal online. They expected Haney to show show up like a man who had something to prove, not just someone trying not. And with Turki Al-Sheikh reportedly backing a Haney-Garcia rematch for later this year, performances like this could complicate the marketing. The appeal of a sequel is only strong if both fighters bring something to the table, and right now, Haney's stock took more of a hit than a rise. Of course, it's not all doom and gloom. Haney is still young, still immensely talented, and still very much in the mix among the top lightweights and junior welterweights. One fight doesn't define a career, but if he wants to remind people why he was once considered one of the sport's brightest young stars, he'll have to dig deep. Boxing fans are forgiving, but only if you give them something to believe. Saturday night wasn't that moment. It was calculated, cautious, and ultimately forgettable. And for a fighter who's supposed to be chasing greatness, that just isn't going to cut it. Now the big question is, what's next? Haney said he wanted to clean up his mistakes and come back better. He did clean up in the technical sense, but better is debatable. Garcia is already planting seeds for their next showdown, talking about redemption and settling the score. Haney, on the other hand, has some soul-searching to do. If he really wants to run it back with Garcia, he's going to have to bring more than footwork and defense. He's going to have to bring fire, grit, and most importantly, belief, because if he doesn't, that rematch may turn into a repeat, and that could be the end of Haney hype.